I'm trying to remember some of the questions we did before. So, for the people that are watching, we did a video record. We did a interview a couple weeks ago, and unfortunately, my recording decided to be corrupted and OBS issues. So, this is basically going to be a retake of that same interview, pretty much asking simple questions, pushing some other questions out, see if we can get anything. And so, Ryan, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do on the developer team, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so my name is Ryan. I'm the content manager for the CWA emulator project. Basically, what that entails is I do a little bit of everything. I do a bunch of map design. I've done quite a bit of work on Republic Defender levels. Um, and I've done a little bit of modeling, but not a whole lot. So that's more or less what I do on the team.
Okay, there we go. And so, speaking of the modeling, so the armor set you currently have on, which is from Star Wars: The Bad Batch, which is Tech's armor. Now, were you the one that originally created this, or was it someone else?
The one who has created the Bad Batch was actually Chowder.
Okay. He did an amazing job with these textures, man.
Yeah,
It is just,
he did do a really good
it
job on
is,
these.
it's just incredible because even just the smallest little details like the skull design on the ear patch and such, it's just incredibly phenomenal.
Yeah, he
Now,
definitely put some research and time into it.
oh, absolutely. So now, uh, the Bad Batch armor, like I asked you in the beginning, now you mentioned that originally it's only for developers only. Do you think that all five of those sets, or at least all four of them anyway, will be released sometime soon in the future for the market?
As for a specific release date, there is currently not one set, but yes, they will be they won't be available in the shop. I believe, at least from early talks, what we've been doing is when we bring in collections, have them be a part of collections
Ooh,
to kind
that's
of to
actually
kind
a
of keep
really good way to.
the collections new and fresh,
Yeah, absolutely.
so that we're not
Because
just
I
putting every
mentioned,
single armor set in the shop.
yeah, because I mentioned to Mark a while ago, like for certain armor sets that are, specifically unique, like the Bad Batch or, a certain Legends set, those type of armor sets really need to be earned rather than, just strictly purchased from the market and such. Because if you purchase one from the market, let's say, for example, Tex armor, it just doesn't really feel that special.
Yeah, yeah, we want to make sure that we keep it as close to the original with like the collections and stuff. Like I guarantee you, when combat becomes a thing and all that, the Umbaran sets will remain under the collections like they were in the original.
That is sweet. So now, speaking of combat zones, now obviously we have Ryloth currently right now, and then we also have, I believe, Karlak, and I think that's about it, other than Coruscant. But what is the current status on Ryloth being, fully implemented and finished up and actually functioning?
Do you mean Ryloth or Felucia?
Ryloth.
Okay. Um, so Ryloth, I believe we've done just some final minor touches to it. In terms of adding in like the enemies and stuff, that's probably still a ways down the road. Um, but yeah, we've done some touch ups to the map here in like the last week or so. So
Sweet. And then, how about for? I know. Didn't you say Umbara was currently was currently a bit bugged?
yes, Umbara is still kind of buggy, but thankfully we have Thomas back. Thomas has been our combat zone guy So he's finally come back on the team. So he's been helping kind of get that stuff set back up.
Oh, that's interesting. So now, why don't you tell the audience or viewers, why don't you tell them what you told me in the beginning, in the first interview about what happened to Umbara, why it's not currently
Um,
in this.
so we we went in with the original. So we have the original files and stuff, but we don't have the proper converter for terrains. So we can't physically import in the Umbara terrain. So basically, we have all the meshes like the Sith Temple, the Umbaran Airfield, and the Republic Outpost, but there's no terrain. So basically, we have to kind of start from scratch and, well, sort of start from scratch. We have to recreate the entire terrain, basically, which will take a decent amount of time to do.
So basically, everything on Umbara is pretty much just floating.
Essentially, yes. There's no ground, basically.
Man, I think you let Fog roam around a little bit too much. He pretty much broke the entire world again.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, speaking of Fog, anyway, so with the combat zones, Fog originally was released with Umbara as technically a world boss, where you could kill him and get pieces of loot from him to obtain, I believe, a miniature version of him as like a follower or a mini pet. Was that right?
Yep. He was a companion.
So with obtaining Fog in the emulator later down the line, is obtaining him going to be pretty much the same as back then in the original game?
I believe that's the plan. Yes.
Okay. And then with what other combat zones have world bosses? Because I know Karlak originally had one. Actually, yeah, let's talk about Karlak for a minute. So, if you remember back in the original game, Karlak actually did have a hidden world boss where if you ventured off, a little bit further out into the open, you would come across this little ice cave, but it was always ray shielded and you could never get in. But there was always that big creature just roaming around. So is that creature going to be making a comeback in the emulator?
Possibly. I haven't really heard a whole lot, at least from development talks. I'm sure we're gonna talk more about it when we get around to combat. But if it was in the original, there's about a 99% chance that it will make a return.
Gotcha. Sweet. Now, hopefully, you guys won't actually keep it locked up this time.
we might do something with that cave. We don't know yet.
All right. And then, obviously, I think a lot of people are really excited for the return of Felucia actually coming out.
Yes.
Sometime soon in the future. Now, with Felucia, can you give us any status on, build-wise, where it's at currently, if it's even, or if it's just like Umbara?
Felucia is actually a lot more. Like, you can actually walk around. It's not like Umbara levels of broken. The reason that we actually had to remove it, well, we didn't have to remove it, but we decided to remove it because it was just unfinished. There were, I believe on Felucia there was the Separatist encampment. We didn't have the full Separatist encampment finished. We also didn't have, the Felucia caves finished, so we just kind of felt it was best to leave it out for right now until it's finished.
Gotcha. And then for the collection-wise, I know obviously, there's no official rumored date or anything like that for it being implemented into the game. But there was, I think that this was in an earlier build, I believe. But when you went to go view collections, you would see the original combat zones along with Coruscant, but there was also an additional tab for the Geonosian uh, collections. So can you tell us anything about that? Any type of tease or anything?
Um, Unfortunately, I don't have anything that I can say about that.
Okay. I do know Geonosis was actually uh, it was implemented into not this build, I believe the previous one. It
Yeah,
was quite a, it was
it was in the public single player build that we have out right now, which is back from 2018.
gotcha. That's what it was. Because you could go to the what was it, the Republic attack cruiser, and then you could pretty much go on ground onto that combat zone.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it was. But yeah, there's not a whole lot that I can really reveal about that at the moment.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, hey, I mean, it gives us something to really think about and theorize about it. So now we're going to try and ask a couple of simple questions. Pretty much, hopefully, these will be pretty standard. So now, can you tell us what is the basic structure for developing a game?
Just in general, or specifically this project.
Specifically, this project.
Um, so specifically for this game, how we kind of do like updates and stuff like that in terms of our structure is, so if you go onto our website, we've got our roadmap.
Mhm.
Um, Basically all the stuff that we have in that roadmap. A lot of times we'll go. We'll take a few of the things that are the easiest to do because we can crank those out in like a week, and then we'll do a lot of, and then we'll pick like one or two of the hard things to do. That way we have some things of major substance, and usually like our team is split up into multiple departments too. Like we've got programmers, designers, map designers, texture artists, riggers. So we're all constantly working on different areas of the project. Like with Mark and Crimson, they're on the programming side of things, so they're constantly doing stuff behind the scenes. They work with me quite a bit on doing like Republic Defender and Starfighter stuff with Drake. Um, and then we've also got I'll say that we've got some other mini games in production, but I can't really say at the moment. But so that's kind of how our structure goes for releasing new updates, and that's kind of how it goes for the team as well. Is we all have our own little areas of development that we work on, and when we feel that an update is ready to be released, the managers will get together and we'll discuss a potential release date, and then yeah, we usually keep it internally until like the week before, and then we make a big announcement.
Gotcha. That's pretty interesting. So, can you tell us what basically is the progress or the process of actually publishing an update?
I don't know the full details of that because that's the thing that Mark actually does. But I know that it's a long process that usually takes him a full day to release an update out to the client. Because it's basically having to completely compile the entire game, and then he has to push it out to the launcher. So that's my very basic understanding of how it works.
That good enough. So now, let me ask you this. Now, obviously, when developers try to get stuff implemented or create, they always come across any type of issue, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is one of the most, let's say, I can't really think of the word of it, so I'm just going to say, what is the most intense issue that you've had personally with creating anything in the emulator?
The biggest issue a lot of times just comes down to do I have time to fix it or do I have time to implement it? That's the biggest problem, working a part-time job and being a college student. There's only so much time I can dedicate, so
And then let's see, how about what? Now, obviously, you played the original game, correct?
Yes.
So, what is one of the biggest inspirations that you had to fully commit to actually being a part of the or the development for the emulator?
Yeah. So it was a multiple things. The biggest one was I really I found this passion of going to college for game design, and it was just like, hey, I'm a part of this community server that's for Clone Wars Adventures, the emulator. So I was just kind of like, you know what? Why not? Let's apply. I can get some, I can get some really good work experience for going out in the job force. Um, so those are two of my biggest deciding factors was work experience, and I just really enjoyed this game in the original state. So being able to kind of bring it back is kind of an unreal feeling, but it's a great feeling to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of my biggest inspirations from being because back a while ago, I was a part of the development team as an enforcer, and being an enforcer was actually a really interesting experience to say the most. Specifically, back in the original game, if you saw one of those, it was always bad news,
Yeah.
regardless. Um, but like a couple of days before the end of CWA, I had actually emailed them to ask to get a personal screenshot with one of them, and it ended up being, I ended up getting my screenshot with I think like two or three of them of the enforcement units. So
Yeah.
that was really awesome. So speaking of the enforcement units, are those NPC models even, implemented into the game currently, or are they still being worked on?
I'm sure we have the files, but I'm not sure if they've been implemented.
Okay. So now I can't remember if I asked you this earlier. What is the what is basically the process of getting certain files implemented into the game? To create like an NPC or just pretty much anything in general for the emulator.
Yeah. So how it works for like NPCs and all that is it's actually a surprisingly complicated process. We actually, because the files that we have from the original, I believe are FBX files, or they're .obj files, which Unity isn't a big fan of .obj files. So we have to import them into Blender, export them out as FBX files, and then import them into Unity. So it's kind of a pain in the neck process, um, but it works. And then it's kind of the same. It's a similar process for like when we get just the OBJ files and we want to rig them. We put them into our rigging software, which I believe is Akitsu, and then we export them out from Akitsu, have to import them into Blender, export them out of Blender, and then have to bring them into Unity. So it's a kind of a pain in the neck process, but it works.
And as long as it works, right?
Yeah.
So now let me ask you this. Um, I think I'm gonna try and go into some a little bit harder questions, but for you, what is? Well, let's just start with this, simple question. The current build that we're in right now. What is your current favorite armor set?
Current favorite armor set. That's a good one. Let me see if I can put it on. Headgear. I think my personal favorite is. Where is it? I know I got it. I'm a big fan of the St. Patrick's Clone
Oh,
I
absolutely.
don't know why. I just really like the armor. it's a really cool armor.
It actually really is. It's got some really unique textures to it, some different patterns and such.
Yeah.
Especially the visor. I think the visor is honestly my favorite
Yeah, the
part of
visor is
that.
pretty cool.
So now, speaking of armor sets, like I said, we're going to go into some harder questions. Uh, are there currently some armor sets or like a certain one in particular that you're most excited about that you could talk about briefly?
Huh. There are certainly some armor sets that I am very excited for, that I can't talk about. But in terms of ones that I can, let's see if there might be one in here. I can give a little hint,
Okay.
and it's gonna be my armor set right now. I don't know if you can see it or not.
I can.
So
It's actually really interesting looking.
this is a little hint.
That's actually really interesting looking. It looks almost like I want to say it almost looks like a Ryloth inspired trooper, but at the same time, I know it's not. Now, is this armor set one that was originally in the original game, or is this
Yes,
a completely custom one?
this is one that was originally in the game. This is Commander Stone's armor. Um,
Oh,
but
okay.
there's another character that looks very similar to Stone that I'm really excited about, that we may or may not be able to bring in here very soon.
Oh, nice. I know. Now that you mentioned Stone, I remember then he used to have. And this is going off memories from an action figure, unfortunately. But I remember it was Commander Stone, and then it was also Commander Jet, I believe.
hmm
But I don't remember what Jet looked like, unfortunately. But I mean, that's really actually interesting looking armor set by far. And I actually like the shoulder pad for some reason. It's
Yeah,
got that.
it's a pretty cool design.
That's interesting. So now, still speaking about armor sets, now going back to the Bad Batch, whenever those are implemented and fully able to release, are those going to be targeted at a higher value credit wise, or is that going to stay relatively cheap?
I think what we're gonna do is release them with collections.
Oh,
So
that's right.
they might not even be in the store. But if we do release like one of them into the store, yes, they're probably going to be a significantly higher value of credit.
Right. I'm sorry. I just my mind's
No,
like
you're
all
good.
over the
You're
place.
good.
I completely forgot. You already mentioned it was going to be in part of the collections.
No, you're good. It's all right.
Uh, so now let's see. Seasonal items, obviously, back in the original game, for both Halloween and Life Day, they always released certain armor sets that were inspired by that certain holiday. Can you tell us, is there going to be anything? Basically like anything that hasn't been in the original game, or
So
let's say
you're saying
this
like
coming Halloween.
new seasonal items.
Yes.
Um, there's something that I'm currently working on that I can't really talk about, but in the future, yes, there is plans for more seasonal content. I do
Sweet.
know. I will kind of give a little tease here. For Life Day, I am working on a project for Life Day, so hopefully I'll be able to get it finished.
Oh, that's awesome. And then let's see. Now I did ask. I believe it was. Oh, I can't remember now. I know I asked one of the developers, and let me know if it was you that mentioned this, but there's going to be in the next update, one of the minor updates for the emulator. There's going to be lightsaber dueling re-added to the minigame section. Can you tell us anything about that?
Yes, that is still currently the plan. We do still aim to get lightsaber duels back in. The reason that we kind of took it out was the animations were really kind of bugged out, and also the minigame wouldn't give you credits. So that's
Okay.
kind of a necessity when you're bringing in a minigame. So
Exactly.
there was really no point to really playing lightsaber duels at the moment. So yes, it is being worked on. We're touching it back up, and when we do bring it back in, it will actually give out credits.
Sweet. Now, when lightsaber dueling does release, is it going to just have a single stage, or will it have multiple stages?
It's possible we could get stage 1 and 2, but for certain, just level 1.
Okay. Sweet. Now, here's a good question, credit-wise. Can you tell us if, let's see, the current minigame that only gives you the highest amount of credits, obviously, is Republic Defender on stage 3, which gives you about 900 to about 1,200 credits.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with the lightsaber dueling, is that going to be rewarding you with similar, uh, similar value, or is it just going to be a little bit more less value, if that makes any sense?
Um, I believe it's gonna be a little bit less. I'm trying to remember back to the OG. I believe in the original, it would give you like per level you could get anywhere from 4 to 700, if I'm remembering it
Mhm.
correctly. So it'll probably be somewhere in that range. I'd have to double check the numbers on that, but I think just going off of memory, that's where it was. So
As long as it gives credits, that's
yeah.
all that matters. So I'm pretty sure that answers majority of my questions. Now, is there anything that you personally want to say? Whether it being, just pretty much anything in general for the emulator that's coming in the future, or hinting out something. Obviously, you already teased us with this new armor set, but is there anything else you'd like to say?
Hmm. I will say, just a couple things. First off, if you want to see like teases and stuff, make sure to join the community Discord. There's a link to it on our CWA page. Uh, make sure you join our Discord. We post some nice teases out there. Um, I will say we're always looking for additional help on the team, whether it be on video editing, um, development, support team members. We're always looking, so don't be afraid to apply. Um, and then, hmm, if there's a little bit of a tease, I mean, it would. Hmm, it's a good question. You won't be able to see it, but I am recording on my end as well, and I am in the most recent dev build. So this won't make any sense to you until you see my footage. Um, but
I'll just pretend I'm excited.
but I'm just gonna hover over this little thing right here, and then that's gonna be my tease. So
Oh man, I can't wait for that.
I'll give you my footage so you can cut that in there.
All right, I believe that should do it. Ryan, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to do this short little interview. Like I said, I do apologize from the beginning. OBS has a bunch of issues, so I'm not a professional at trying to figure out how to fix those issues. So
Yeah, that's all right, man. It
hopefully,
happens.
hopefully this recording actually fully finished as soon as I end it. I'll go ahead and check again. And if it didn't record the entire thing, I'll let you know so you can go ahead and upload yours if you have a YouTube channel. And
Yeah.
I'll post the links to pretty much everything in the description and such.
Yeah, and if the
But
video
anyway,
doesn't work on your end, just let me know and I can give you my recording too.
okay, sweet. Ryan, thank you so much for doing this interview. Really do appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
And I'll be talking to you later.
Of course. You have a good one.
You too, man.